All right, guys, Philip here again in the shop again with part 2 of canvases. In the first video of canvases, we talked about, more commercial canvases and production canvases and the sort of materials that we put into canvases. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about how we put canvases in. Before I kind of get started, I'd like to point out something. While many firms have one house style, they also usually have one set of style of canvas that they like to produce, and run into things all the time about things being their way or things being wrong. In our shop, we take a more open approach to things, and we'll cut canvases in a variety of materials in a variety of ways, with a deep amount of consideration in the type of garment, the period of garment, and the body, as well as the season that we're cutting things from. Things like the shape of the cut and the actual construction of the canvas can change. There are a lot of different ways that we've researched and different models that can be followed with different intended purposes for canvases. So you'll see oftentimes the shape of a cut changes. You'll see the grain of the canvas changes. And you'll see also canvases cut with multiple pieces if that's required or that's best for a particular style. So just to put it out there, we always take an approach that's unique to the garment, to the person, to the season that we're making things from. We're not set in one way or one specific style. What we are set in is making our own canvas, making full canvases that support the whole structure of the garment, and not in using those kind of quarter or half canvases that we talked about in part 1. So we're always using still full canvases that provide all that structure for the roll line, for the roll of the lapel, for the front edge of the jacket, supporting the buttonholes and structuring the shoulder. There are many different ways, of course, of assembling the canvas, and again, we explore a variety of different ways. There is also a large number of ways of basting the canvas into the jacket as opposed to gluing or fusing the canvas into the jacket. Again, that's something we find really important, is this hand placing of the canvas. What we always like to do, and what is always of most importance, is to put the canvas into the jacket round. Again, there's a lot of approaches to doing this. I am very lucky, we're lucky in the shop, we have this wonderful tool handmade for us by Lucas from my time working in the Stratford Festival. It's unfortunately not a tailoring tool that you can purchase or find. So you'll see, of course, some tailors with different methods of achieving this, putting roundness into the jacket, but we use the roundness of bucks and wooden shapes that have been created to place or base the canvas into the jacket with roundness. You will see a wide variety of styles of actual basting stitches that are used to temporarily hold that roundness into the shape of the jacket. And in some cases, you might see kind of really a whole lot more than we've even done, to the point where sometimes I've seen other things on Instagram and gone, wow, that's kind of a lot of basting. And kind of coming to talk about that, we like to put in what's necessary for us to do the work. But I found this really kind of great bit of information. This is from the Tailor and the Cutter text, the 1947 edition. And I think it's interesting what they have to say here about this over-basting of things that you might find. So here they've called this, then again, this is a term from a tailoring text from 1947, flash basting. So look out for flash basting, which usually meant superfluous basting stitches put on the outside of a garment at the try-on stage with the object of impressing the customer. So we do need basting stitches to hold it in, but you might start to see a lot more with a sort of reasonings that I may or may not understand beyond what's described here as flash basting. While you will see from us usually 3 rows of basting stitches, which is the temporary method of holding the jacket in. We like to use this Tailor base stitch, which I'll include some videos of in a bit. Once the canvas has been basted in, it's gone through an initial try-on stage. The jacket goes through, and the canvas gets kind of attached into the jacket by hand or with a blind stitch machine in a variety of different ways. First, all of the rows of pad stitching are put into the lapel. Again, roundness being the most important part of it. While the stitches are being done, the collar is put into roundness over the fingers. The canvas is trimmed away from the edge of the jacket. Remember, we talked about how it doesn't want to fold or roll. It's going to create a lot of bulk in the front of the jacket, so it's trimmed away. The edge is taped and stitched down so that we can create a nice, thin, clean front edge without the canvas being folded in there. The canvas is hand stitched into the fronts of the jacket along the sides here, and the canvas ends up being hand stitched also into the shoulder area and into the neckline. So over time, through the shaping and testing of the garment and incorporating the roundness into it, the whole thing, eventually the canvas is stitched in loosely around all of the outside edges. Before then, that basting stitch comes out and that roundness is held into place. So that's part 2 on what we put into putting a canvas into the jackets, and also just exploring the sort of variety of different ways that that can be